Welcome back to Dream Garage. I apologize. I am driving this morning, getting some stuff done, but I wanted to start our little journey through the purchasing process of a used high-performance offshore style boat. So in this episode, I want to talk about some things to think about, some things to research, questions that I had, or things that I wondered about when I was looking for our boat that we bought. So obviously, there's like in Indiana, in our state, here, there isn't any used high performance boat dealerships. So the first thing is that you go, okay, I don't really know anybody personally that is in this realm, in this market. I mean, I know a lot of car guys. I have a lot of friends from a lot of places in the car world because of my history and my experience. But and I've worked, a couple different areas, so that helps with that. But when it comes to the boat world, especially the used high performance world, there is nothing in Indiana like that. Not saying there's not passionate boaters here, but as far as a dealership presence, that's not the case. So the closest thing to us would be Grand Sport Center in Illinois. They have 2 locations. I had talked to Max Miller a couple different times. He always was nice to me. But that was about the closest dealer that I knew from us. And they were about 4.5 hours from us. But they always have high performance used boats. And then, you've got Lake of the Ozarks, which is, in my opinion, one of the closest high performance that has multiple dealerships. They're different. They're all separate, but that works in this space. So about every day, once we got to the point where we were ready to start looking heavily, meaning we were starting to be serious, I was on their websites every single day, looking to see if there was anything new, looking to see if there was anything that prices changed, or, even just like I said, trying to understand what I'm looking at here. Because again, just like anything, just like cars, just like RVs, just like bikes, there is a lot of different options. But you also want to pay attention to the details, because sometimes when we start, we're looking more at the broader spectrum of the bigger points, right? So it's like, oh, it's got to be fast. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. Well, then we don't realize, well, what about the little things? What about the little details? And once we actually got into looking, which is why I'm glad we were looking sooner than when we actually were ready to buy, is it gave us time, because we didn't feel like we had that pressure that, hey, we got to make a decision now, right? Now, obviously, this is not a necessity, so, you can move at your own pace, but somebody like me, once I get excited and I know I'm ready to move forward, I might make a mistake on something that seemed like it was not a big deal, but then once I get the boat, it's like, oh, I wish I would have waited and done that, or I wish I would have seen this or known that, right? So that is something I was glad we were looking heavy, but not too heavy, meaning we weren't ready to move forward, but we had time to actually start to diagnose this. So we started to get to know the cabin floor plans, the cockpits, the differences between, looking at weights, what's the weight variance on these. It's a lot bigger boat. I mean, we're going from 27.5 foot on a probably 30-foot trailer to a basically 40 foot by the time you put trailer in. So we're talking 10 to 12 feet difference here. And that's a lot when you're pulling. We are going to be traveling with this boat a lot more often. I mean, there's going to be other events that we want to go to. We're going to bring the boat home to Indiana some. It's going to be in Kentucky most of the time, but it'll come back to Indiana some. We'll have, trips that we might want to go to the Ozarks, or we might want to go somewhere else. It's one of those things where we're going to be pulling this boat a lot. And so, I wanted to make sure that our truck could handle it, because even though ours is a F-250 diesel, most 38 foot to 42 foot boats that I see on YouTube or on Google are being pulled by, at minimum, a 350 dually or 350 single wheel. So that kind of made me nervous a little bit, but based off the trailer rating, towing capacity and all that, the 38 foot would work. So that was kind of where we started our research. What were our have-to-haves? Some of them do have a room for the bathroom. They have an actual bathroom in them where it's separate from the rest of the cabin. The fountain was our favorite floor plan on the interior when it came to the cabin. It was just very spacious, looked a little more luxurious in the inside, well put together. And of course, Reggie Fountain of Fountain Powerboats has a rich history in the offshore powerboat space. He's won a lot of races over the years. I just saw something the other day. He's turning 86. So that history, but still being able to put those kind of details in the boat, obviously was putting that more towards the top of our list. But we were looking at older ones too because of the price point. These boats get very expensive very quick. You could look at an 05, and an 05 is, in years, comparative, that's like, okay, that's 16 years old, or no, that's 20 years old, 21 years old now. That's old boat. But in the high performance world, if you don't want to spend $500,000 or $300,000, which is so much money for a boat, you have to look at an older one. Now, the one thing I will say in regards to an older boat like this is a lot of people that are in this space truly care about their boat. They treat them like they're brand new. When you look, you'll see a lot of them have been upfitted. They have been redone. Interiors have been redone. So upholstery looks phenomenal. You're going to have some that aren't as well taken care of. You're going to have some that they might price it cheaper because it needs an interior or, whatever the case may be. But a lot of them, people take pride in these. And that's what I love about this space. I mean, even though they're older, they still look like they're new. The hull shape of a V-hull, other than the twin step, which is, there's two cuts in the hull, and I'll get into that more later. But other than that, these boats age so well. You could have a 95 and it look like a 2010 because the hull looks the same. Now, there's going to be changes. There's going to be little things they do over time, colors and interiors. But, especially if you buy one that's been redone, they could make that thing look like it's only 3 years old, even though the hull is really 20 years old. So that is something that I do love about boats, is they don't age like cars. Cars change body styles every 5 to 7 years, and they change them pretty drastically. So they age them more because of that, instead of, they might just put a new grill in. They do that within the 5 years or 7 years of that body style. So cars age quicker because they change the body style so drastically versus a boat. So that is nice when it comes to that. But so we knew we were going to have to look at older because the money that it takes to own a newer one is just outrageous. But that's the market. I mean, that's what they do. Brand new center consoles and 42X cigarettes, and I mean, these things are $1 million plus. And I'm not, I'll probably never be in the space for that. That's, you have to make a lot of money to be able to afford that. I think they're wonderful. Center consoles are a cool boat. The powerboat world has gone more towards that style because of the outboard engines, the space to seat people. They still can put a cabin in the middle of the boat because of the center console aspect. A lot more dependable on the motors. So I understand why they've made that adjustment, but there's something about an inboard motor with the exhaust that you just can't replace on a center console. I think center consoles are amazing, by the way. I love the theory behind it. I love the space that it provides. It's definitely like, it's big enough that it's like a pontoon in the sense of being able to house people and you know, grill or whatever the case may be. However, the issue lies that those boats are, I think I've seen maybe a handful that were under $200,000. The rest of them are at minimum $250 plus. And, you know, again, that's just a ton of money. So, especially for people like us who don't live in a Florida or a Texas or a California where you can boat 12 months out of the year. We have horrible we have winters. Now, until this year, they've been pretty mild, but this year, like currently, it is mid-March and it is snowing. And I am tired of it. It has been the worst winter in the last 10 years in Indiana. So we don't get 12 months of boating. We get maybe 4 to 5 that you could really go out and boat. Now, yeah, you could go out there when the water's cold and still run, but we love to swim. We love to be out in the water anchored and go swim. And, you know, obviously in November and, you know, in April or, you know, maybe May this year because of how cold it's been. I mean, it was up to 70 on Sunday when we traveled, and it is 18 degrees right now. What in the world is going on? So, you know, to spend that much on a boat, especially here, I mean, I could not afford it, but let's say I could, I just couldn't justify it. There's not enough time ability to use it. So, you know, we had set a budget and looked at it and said, okay, this is a price point that we felt comfortable with, that we felt made sense for what we were looking for. And, you know, kind of had our favorites. My dream boat has always been a Cigarette. There is something about that brand in that boat that just hits different for me. There's nothing wrong with any boat out there. I mean, this is, again, as I said in the first video, this is all about tailoring to what you enjoy. And I know me well enough, and if I sacrificed and bought another boat when I could have bought a Cigarette, I would end up wanting to do it again. And I'm at a point where I want to have something that I want to keep for a long time. And so I would rather, you know, find exactly what we're looking for as long as the budget prevails to that, instead of, you know, just buying something to buy it. And then down the road, it's like, okay, we should have just went ahead and done this or what have you. So that's the first thing. So establish what your must-haves are, what your wants are, and make sure that what you're looking for fits the budget you're setting. That's very, very important. So step one, and thankful for the internet that we have the ability nowadays to where you can find a lot of information. You can look on websites, you can start to do research, you know, how much does this weigh? How much does trailer weigh? What kind of trailers are more expensive? What kind are better fit? You know, a lot of those things you can find online, but you know, that's where you kind of start to establish what you're looking for. Now, once you've established that, and this is something that we as humans don't maybe, or as customers, I guess is a better way to put that, don't understand, is there's nothing wrong with making a phone call and asking questions. But let those people know up front, like, hey, look, I'm not trying to waste your time. I'm not in the market yet. I just had a couple questions because I can't find them. If you don't mind helping me. But also respect the people that are willing to do that for you. You know, most places work on commission, you know, which is, you know, for an industry, it's actually a good thing because that means they're going to care about your sale, or they should. Like I said, I can't speak for everybody. I'm not saying there's not bad examples out there, but, you know, they're taking time out of their day to help you. Just be respectful of their time. You know, I always, understanding the business and doing what I do, you know, I'm very upfront, and I'm never going to lead them astray on my intent or what I'm trying to do. Now, there's nothing wrong with calling around. There's nothing wrong with getting a feel for different areas. That's not what I'm saying. But, you know, if you're 6 months out from purchasing something, don't make them feel like you're ready to buy that day. Start negotiating price and, well, how much could you give off for this? And that piece might not even be there by that time. And if it is, they'll already have discounted it or priced it again based off that at that time. So just be cognizant and respectful, please. I deal with it on the other side of it all the time, but that makes me more respectful in the space when I'm actually looking for something to buy. So, but I also won't call until I feel like it is at a point where either I need to get this question answered to be able to continue my research process, or I'm actually ready to start talking information. Now, again, I do not talk about price until I've picked a boat and we're ready to buy it. There's no reason. I don't care if the boat, they would give me $50,000 off a boat that day. If I'm not ready to buy, why does it matter, right? So be respectful to the people in the space. Part of the reason they get flustered and sometimes their customer service could lack is because they get used all the time. So just remember, it's a two-way street. You want to be respected by who you deal with. Make sure you're respecting them too. They're humans too. They're people too. You never know what the last customer they just talked to did to them or how that conversation went. So just be respectful, please. So that's kind of the beginning, theories and just understanding of kind of what to do in the first steps of looking for your next power boat or high performance boat. The next thing we're going to get into is, once we are at the point of conversation, what to look for, because there is a huge difference in these boats, and houseboats would qualify for this, cabin cruisers, these bigger boats, these older boats especially, but even on new ones, there's something I learned through this process, and our next video I'm going to touch on this, is way different than I've ever understood or done before. So stay tuned for that, because I want to make sure we go over that in depth, because it is a huge, in my opinion, it's a ride or die point for whether you buy that boat or not. So make sure you stay tuned for our next video to go through that. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Make sure you like, subscribe, and don't miss out on any of this content, because I'm telling you, I know right now it's just talking videos and doing that, but I promise you the content for why I'm going through all this is going to make everything I'm talking about worth it, and for you to stay in tune for. So please don't miss any of our upcoming content. We will see you guys in the next one.